Hyundai Australia has a brand new boss and, for the first time ever, not a South Korean. And yeah, I know, how extrinsically riveting, right? But I would suggest he and his radiant smile have been here for just 7 weeks now, and already they've put the company's nuts in a vice and properly cranked down on the lead screw. They are finally getting a ute. Maybe. I'm John Cadogan from AutoExpert.com.au. New cars cheap, but Australia only. Website. Code. The car industry's decentralised PR agency of essentially domesticated statement regurgitators, the motoring so-called journalists out there, were as busy as fat freeloaders at the buffet this week, that's for sure. Hyundai's getting a ute, they gushed, regurgitating boldly exactly the same phrase that Kia used at the outset of the Tasman fiasco. Imagine that. That worked out so well. After just 30 years of sitting around using its reproductive organs essentially as some kind of pacifier, Hyundai is finally getting a ute. Definitely getting one, dude. It's locked and loaded, unquote. But there's absolutely no plan. But definitely a firm possibility of maybe getting one soon, maybe even locking and loading it one day over the next 3 years, possibly, probably, who would know. Two of Australia's leading regurgitators, Cars Guide and Rupert on Wheels, demonstrated the sheer diligence of their in-house regurgitation efforts by both declaring the imaginary new Hyundai ute to be, quote, locked and loaded on the very same day. This is how the media works, right? Like, here's your sound bites, talking points further back in the press kit. Would anyone like some more baked ham? It's almost as if the same hand were up there, what do you call it from the Latin? Up there, ani. Locking and loading like that, amazing. In fact, though, this purported ute's current mode of existence is roughly equivalent to Elon's base on Mars. You can look out for that as early as 2024. Dude. Hyundai's options here are to defuck the Tasman's glaring deficiencies and call it their own, which is a big job, or get a currently non-existent but somehow in the wings Chevy Silverado plug-in hybrid out of America, slap on a set of italic H badges front and rear, and there's your basic Hyundai, Silverado, whatever. That could work, I guess. As I look around the market today, though, with my Jedi mind powers, I'm not yet feeling a disturbance in the force capable of causing either Ranger or Hilux spontaneously to drop a series of uncontrolled deuces in their DAX. This report is sponsored by NordVPN. Get big savings plus 4 extra months of Nord for free right now in Nord's exclusive birthday deal. Go to nordvpn.com/AEJC. Online security threats are everywhere, but you do not have to be the next victim. That's where NordVPN comes in, locking everything down efficiently in the background. Go to nordvpn.com/AEJC now. Every 2-year NordVPN plan receives that huge discount, plus a coupon that entitles you to 6 free months, which you can use to extend your subscription, or you can even give it to a friend. nordvpn.com/AEJC. Link in the description. Using NordVPN is easy. Just subscribe, download the app and connect. 1 click later, your IP address is shielded and your traffic will be encrypted across as many as 6 of your devices. Nord is the fastest VPN on the planet. It costs only about as much as 1 cup of coffee every month to keep your data, your identity and your devices secure. Masking your location means you'll be able to access streaming and other services that might be blocked where you live. Plus, you can continue to watch your favourite content when you travel. Go to nordvpn.com/AEJC now. Boost your security, get that huge discount, and enjoy those extra months completely free. It's all totally risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. It's easy to stay safe online. Just visit nordvpn.com/AEJC now. According to Rupert's top motoring regurgitators, Don Romano, formerly head of Hyundai in Canada, has been tasked with turning around the South Korean brand's fading fortunes in Australia. Here's Donnie, as they say. I think he's trying very, very hard indeed to smile. I don't know, but perhaps that is him positively beaming. Australia. You're going to Australia. What was second prize, Donnie? Imagine being sent to Australia in the twilight years. Big D has only 3 years before that final major service. What the fuck did he do to deserve Australia at this point? Must have been serious. Perhaps he stole a loaf of bread in Piccadilly Circus back in 1787 or something. Like, dude, that's all it took. Sentenced to Australia for the rest of your professional life. Fading fortunes, unquote. Ouch. That is a brave statement too for a regurgitator. Hashtag respect. I mean, the big H must be an advertiser, right? And advertisers hate this kind of reporting of negative facts of this nature. Hyundai has, in fact, been on a serious long-term slide in Australia, despite the advent of N and Genesis and Ionic and Blue Dildo Drive or whatever they call it. Or maybe because of all of that brand fracturization, who knows? Peak Hyundai in Australia actually occurred roughly a decade ago now, in 2015, when they managed to offload 102,000 cars. Oh, crème bleu, dude. Mazda was pooping its duds that year, guaranteed, waiting for the overtaking manoeuvre. But since then, Hyundai sales have been trending, sadly, like Nana's faculties. Like, she's not taking a dump on the bus yet, but you are bracing for that call from the transit police, aren't you? Admit it, dude. Down and down and down and down and down. Hyundai Australia's sales have been the full moniker for 10 years. Imagine that. Just 71,000 and a bit cars last year. And to conceptualise this horrific implosion, imagine a car park with 31,000 cars not in it, each worth, 40 grand or something. That's roughly 1.2 billion bucks worth of non-sales that you have to report back to some bean counter in Seoul, despite having an objectively superior vehicle range than you did back in 2015. My impression is that the median car company bean counter is broadly unsympathetic as to the excuses for conduct such as this. Like, they do tend to be more solution-oriented once the swear jar overflows, like if they don't choke on their kimchi. The real knee in the gonads, though, occurred back in 2022, that's far more recently, when little sister climbed on top. And dude, I can't say those words without flashing back to that fateful day when I managed to, what would you call it? Reconcile with ex-wives number 3 and 5, the sisters, in that Fleabag motel on the Gold Coast. It was perfect. The old in-laws couldn't look me in the eye for roughly 3 Christmases after that. Worth it. Where were we? Oh, yeah. Kia. K backwards N. Climbed on top in 2022. And there's nothing and dedicated Hyundai bean counter hates more than K backwards N climbing on top. Down there in the Antipodes. 78,000 versus 73,000 sales that year. Little sister's way. Little sister dude, always with something to prove. So engaging, like a force of nature. 81,000 versus 71,000 last year too. So it's an ongoing little sister Hyundai inversion apocalypse. And the gap, so to speak, is getting wider. Apparently, Mr. Romano and his radiant smile have an enviable track record up there, you know, in the frigid northern hellhole of Politistan. And Romano, dude, with a name like that, he could have had, I don't know, some respectable job like a pizza chef or even a hitman, I suppose. But instead, for reasons known only to himself, he turned things in Canada around. Fuck you, Trudeau. We're turning Hyundai around, kind of thing. Now, if you're Australian and therefore a bit hazy on Canada, you certainly can't see it from here, so fair enough, but Canada is the part of the United States which is just north of Detroit. I know this because I just asked ChatGPT. As a mark of fat bogan respect, though, Romano is the name I've just given to my award-winning pizza in my upcoming weight control bestseller, Get Fat. Stack on 30 kilos fast and keep it on. The new gut health revolution. A Romano pizza, and this is the cornerstone of my new gut health revolution, incidentally, is simply a piece of pepperoni, right? It's very nourishing indeed. You don't need to count the calories, basically because there's too many of them to count. You take one giant slice of pepperoni. It has to be 15 inches in diameter and about an inch thick. You put 3 olives on top because fibre is obviously so important physiologically. You smother it with mozzarella, at least 1 inch thick. That's the minimum. Has to be evenly distributed. You add salt, like lots of it, and then you just bake it in a scorching hot oven until half of the cheese just slews off into the guts of the oven and the room fills with tantalizing cheesy smoke, just to set the tone for what's next. Slice if required, garnish with a 6-pack and a second serve of pizza if you're still alive. Serves one. Pizza Man scored a whole bunch of wins for Hyundai in frozen polite hell above Detroit, including an all-time sales record in 2024 of 138,755 cars, which is roughly double what Hyundai Australia sold here last year. So well done, Pizza Man. Hyundai Politistan was the number 2 import car company up there, freezing its nuts off for 3 years running underneath Pizza Man, with Pizza Man's hand on the tiller. Not the number 2 car maker, of course, but the number 2 car importer, which is an important distinction to remember. He's only been in the job 7 weeks, but he's already well aware that Hyundai's lack of a rival to the Ranger, Hilux and more is its biggest problem. I would argue that Hyundai's biggest problem is little sister being on top, because they don't have a ute either, and yet they're selling more vehicles. But anyway, that's more of Rupert's fantastic regurgitation there. But if I were going to take a swipe at someone, I'm not saying that's what this is, I'm just saying that this is how I would do it if I were going to do that. It would be exactly in those words. Like, imagine being so impossibly sharp as a CEO that after just 7 weeks in the corner office, you were, quote, already well aware that you didn't have a ute to sell to hardcore fat pizza-loving bogans in Australia. This gives a whole new meaning to quick on the draw, doesn't it? After just 7 weeks. Dude. In the aftermath of this 7-week light bulb moment, Pizza Man has become apparently very serious indeed about getting a ute. And to be fair, we have heard this kind of thing before from Hyundai. It's like electric far-right Jesus talking about full autonomy for 20 years. Hyundai might even manage to get a ute by the end of the decade, and by then, of course, the Chinese are going to have, 10 or 20 more hybrid or fully electric utes here, each undercutting today's establishment by, 20 grand. But after 30 years of gross inaction on the ute front, Hyundai Australia is finally on the case. Dude, I want it locked and loaded by the time I leave. 7 weeks in, and Pizza Man is already thinking about leaving Australia. Perhaps that's why he smiles so much. Who can blame him? I'd go back to Piccadilly in a heartbeat too. Like, here's your fucking bread, I want to come home, kind of thing. The Hyundai ute options are: 1, Hyundai's mighty boy, the Tucson-based Santa Cruz, which they do actually sell up there in frigid, polite hell, incidentally. It's a fine, elegant choice if you want to break free. Plus, it would be outrageously overpriced here if they had a crack at selling it, so there's that. Option 2, therefore, they could attempt to defuck the Tasman. And this is going to be their preferred option, surely, because it's the only available ute in the same segment as Hilux, Ranger, etc. In order to ambitiously repurpose the Tasman for big sister operations by 2030, just a few minor hurdles have to be, overcome. They'll have to take away the smashed crab aesthetic from the pointy end, and they'll have to give Eugene Levy his eyebrows back on the profile. Hall of Fame headline from a genius sub-editor at the Autopian there. Dude, respect. Probably doable so far. That's just styling, okay? But they'll also have to solve the pernicious powertrain problem. See, Tasman's diesel is objectively underpowered, especially in the mid-rev range. This is a fact. Plenty of utes are delivering about 100 kilowatts at 2,000 RPM, whereas the Tasman's only on about 85, kind of thing, down there in the rev range that you are driving at. You can do the numbers yourself if you like, just use the peak torque figures and the revs and multiply it all out, or ask AI, okay? This is a fact though, it's underpowered in the mid-rev range where everyone drives with their ute, and therefore that vehicle as is cannot take the fight effectively to Ranger and Hilux. It just can't. And B, when Chris Bowen's bullshit efficiency standard really ramps up to the proposed 2030 kind of levels, that diesel engine will not be especially tenable in any car maker's lineup. If I were to go with a standard diesel, I could probably get it in a few years, but is that really what we want for the market? And number 2, how's that going to fit into the government's plans for NVES? So we really need to kind of consider, do we just want another ute that everybody else has, or what's distinctly Hyundai? Smiling pizza man there via Rupert's regurgitation. Allow me to translate. Okay, so we looked at the Tasman, the powertrain's crap, frankly. Trying to let little sister down gently on that is a problem, but Bowen's efficiency fiasco is an A-grade excuse. We want a hybrid with grunt, kind of like the Canon Alpha plug-in. What a pity there isn't one available. We're the world's number 3 car maker, and we just didn't think to do that. So, the big hurdle here is redesigning the smashed crab Tasman for a hybrid powertrain, and of course, senior executive R&D geniuses at Kia never thought to do that on the drawing board where it would have been cheaper, which in my view makes the term short-sighted look like the James fucking Webb telescope. Crossing this hybrid retrofit design bridge is going to be A, very, very expensive after the fact, and B, doubtless involve numerous half-assed compromises such as spare tyre? Do we really need one of those? And how important is the 3.5-tonne tow capacity, really? Kind of thing. Look at Ford putting the world's most anorexic plug-in hybrid ute in play now. It adds $10,000 to the cost of the 4-cylinder diesel design, right? And that vehicle has only a baby battery. That's being kind. $10,000 extra, which is 4 years of fuel for vehicles doing average Ks in Australia. And the Tasman is already far too expensive to compete. even without this additional R&D to pay for. Like, Kia's privately moaning about the cost, I'm sure, doubtless crying into the frickin' soju every evening after work over just how expensive it is to sit on your ass for 20 years, not develop a ute, and then have to pay for all the R&D in one hit. Like, Jesus, who knew that was going to happen? Watch them play the victim card when asked about the price at the launch. They're almost certainly going to imply that Toyota and Ford have some sort of unfair price advantage simply because decades in the market has allowed them to write off much of their current model's R&D cost previously. Like, those bastards making cars that actual Australians want to buy. How dare they benefit from that? The current top spec Tasman is roughly 80 grand on the road, okay? That is roughly the same price as a V6 Ranger Wild Track. Now, one of those vehicles has 600 Newton meters. The other, 440. This is the easiest automotive IQ test of all time, surely. Which one do you want for 80 grand, dude? If you add a redesign for a hybrid, and add Kim Kardashian's lips up the pointy end and give Eugene Levy his frickin' eyebrows back, move the absurd headlights, the price is going to be beyond ridiculous. The other option is, of course, the Hyundai Silverado, a twisted freak of the automotive world, certainly. But Pizza Man is actively fantasizing about pimping out Hyundai Shitsville's new ute to GM, which is currently massaging up a plug-in hybrid Silverado. Imagine that with a big sister badge at each end and a fat set of 37 super swampers. I'd buy that. I'd definitely want one. A Silverado or a Hyundai kind of thing, whatever. This might be possible, seeing as Hyundai started sleeping with General Motors just back in New York on September the 12th of last year, GM's Mary Barra and Big Sister's unpronounceable Chung consummated the unlikely union here after exchanging vows to hook up casually from time to time over this and that because they both love money, just like politicians. I am only disappointed that they didn't get hitched by Elvis in Las Vegas because that would have made this hookup perfect. Now, if you are an American, you might need to look away now or mute the volume for a few seconds because in this macabre union, Hyundai is the dog and GM is the tail. 7.3 million vehicles versus 6.2. Number 3 versus number 5, I think. Just saying, they're called facts. Although GM is slightly more profitable, perversely. 10.1 billion versus 9.7 billion US dollars there. That's for 2023 using the average won to US dollar exchange rate for that year. Anyway, Hail Mary said that the goal of sleeping together in this way was to unlock the scale and creativity of both companies. And here was me, dude. I had no idea these things had been wearing some kind of corporate chastity belt during their courtship. I guess that's why I don't get paid the big greenbacks. Anyway, only one small problem with any upcoming Hyundai, maybe two. There's 200 to 230,000-ish Ranger-sized utes being sold here in Shitsville currently, but only about 11,000 big honkin' redneck specials. And as much as I love me a big honkin' redneck special, this far smaller Silverado segment is not the one to play in if you're Pizza Man hoping against hope to get Hilux and Ranger defecating uncontrollably in their DACs at the prospect of your uprising. It's just not. If you already had, a defucked Tasman in your range and it was going gangbusters, dude, Hyundai might be a ripping range topper to introduce, to deploy after the success of defucked Tasman. A real stripper in a cake moment for Pizza Man's retirement send-off. Here's your Silverado. Dude, see you sometime in Piccadilly. Plus, the Silverado 1500 that you can buy today from GMSV, lovingly converted in the Walkinshaw Bumper Bar factory, which is just 6 minutes' drive from Sexyland's Springvale. Ask me how I know. That fine redneck chariot is roughly $150,000 already, with its honkin' 6.2 V8 and complimentary Moonshine Bandits playlist. Add a plug-in hybrid powertrain, and any future Hyundai hybrid is going to be nudging like 180 grand, maybe 200, which is a lot of hoot for a glorified Hyundai Ute. To Pizza Man, I would respectfully say in closing, be bold and tenacious, dude. Boldness and tenacity is the solution. I know this because it's clearly written on the bottom of all Hyundai corporate email footers now. Might as well live it. Be the change you want to see, etc. Right? Be both, because that's what got us to the moon, isn't it? That, and of course, we had to throw the budget out the window to get there, didn't we? This could be the real hurdle, because I can't see any self-respecting, kimchi-eating bean counter in Seoul signing off on profligate waste such as that. Yoda, I suppose, would probably counter with something like, problems there are not, opportunities only there are. But I'm just seeing, therefore, insurmountable opportunities all around for Pizza Man and this 7-week-in Ute fetish. However, when you derive your energy from pepperoni, as opposed to carbohydrates, anything is possible. Pepperoni is the superpower. That's in my book, so it must be true. In any case, cleaning up this Hyundai Ute thought bubble mess is going to be someone else's problem, is it not? Pizza Man and his smile are already on the record, counting the days before departing Australia with their stolen sourdough in a self-undressed return envelope. Just 3 years henceforth. That's only what, about 1,000 sleeps. Hashtag tantalisingly close. Looking forward to Silverado updates via Team Regurgitator between then and now. That should be most entertaining. Explaining why Tasman's not going to be actually a starter. And of course, the chapter wherein Hail Mary boots them out of her corner office in Dearborn. No, that wasn't our agreement at all. That's extra. Don't let the door slam you on the arse as you fuck off, kind of thing. I'm quite keen to see Pizza Man's quest unfold, like the Iliad with a tray. Antichrist out.